Insiders. I'm John LeBoutelier here with Doug Schoen and our fearless executive producer, Martin Hinton. Senior executive producer. Thank you, Dr. Schoen.
Thank you.
Titles are very big here. Political Insiders. And
that's all we have.
Before we do domestic politics, let's take the big picture look at what we have been calling mayhem in the Middle East and really in the world. And we'll start with you, Doug. Last night with Harris Faulkner, you did a great job presenting a dire picture of things, which get worse by the day.
Well, I was reading after we did our segment about I think they're pronounced Houthi.
The rebels.
The rebels in Yemen. They have as their slogan, death to America, death to Israel, death to the Jews. But rest assured, the Obama administration says they're actually moderates, and that we really shouldn't fear them because they.
If that's moderate, what is the extreme position?
I think it's ISIS probably.
Yeah. They don't tell you they're going to kill you; they just kill you.
And
they're not as polite.
Having read an assessment, and then there's a new book coming out on ISIS where basically they know what they're doing. They know by going back to what they consider pure Muslim principles that shock and outrage that will stimulate their followers and create the kind of circumstances that they believe make their inevitable rise more logical. But that being said, Yemen is clearly at risk. Saudi Arabia clearly is at risk given the death of King Abdullah. There's been a temporary successful transition to King Salman, but who knows how long that'll last. Iraq and Syria are both in really very, very bad shape. There's nothing going on with the Palestinians and the Israelis. And candidly, there is no good news in the Middle East. I made one other point, which I would love to get both of your reactions to. As an American Jew, the idea that the President didn't go to France, didn't specifically honor the Jewish community in France after the killings, the murders at the grocery, the kosher grocery, and he has explicitly said he will not receive the Prime Minister of Israel, Obama said, yet he's going, as he should, to the funeral of King Abdullah. If I had said to you years ago, a President of the United States would refuse to receive the Prime Minister of Israel, but would travel to the Middle East for the funeral of a Wahhabist.
Unthinkable.
Unthinkable.
Yeah. Martin?
Yeah, it paints a bleak picture. I mean, on a weekend like the one we had, where another hostage was killed by ISIS, it's frightening. And you made a comment about the slogan in Yemen. There is this absolute disdain for Western principles and ideology. They're not interested in sharing. They're not interested in cooperating or getting along. It's an absolute form of governance, and their means to an end is violence. And it's something that. It's frightening to see that we're not paying enough attention to it. And I say that because there doesn't seem to be any change other than things move in their direction.
All right, so given that we admit, and we've said on the regular show on Sunday night with Harris Faulkner, there's a vacuum. Obama has created the vacuum by his own absence of aggressive leadership as the American president should be leading. That vacuum has spread, Doug, into Washington now, where the Speaker of the House feels, I'm going to invite the Prime Minister of Israel to come over here and speak to us about the Iranian nuclear talks. It's really not the right way to do it, but it's being done. Isn't that another sign of Obama's sort of irrelevant leadership?
Well, it is, and it's also something else. We had always grown up, I think all of us, with the sense that partisanship ended at the
water's edge.
Yeah.
Until Vietnam.
And candidly, everything now is seen in partisan light.
This is a good point Pat made last night. The president can do only so much damage domestically, but outside our borders, he is capable, and the policy of the administration is capable of doing very real, long-lasting damage.
So on that note, up on Capitol Hill, let's keep in mind what's been going on. These nuclear talks with Iran, which were kept secret from Israel for many months, they have really roiled the waters in Israel and in the Arab world too. Over here, the administration has intentionally written up the way they're going to present this thing to keep Congress out of it so they don't have to vote and ratify the thing. And that has got of all things, Democrats, even like we used last night, Robert Menendez, the outgoing chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee in the Senate, he's sounding like the most virulent anti-Obama critic, saying Obama's getting his talking points from Tehran.
Here is what is happening, and I think I'm able now to go a little bit beyond what we would do on the show, is we are having an emerging alliance with Iran.
Against ISIS.
Against ISIS, which will probably also include a nuclear deal on terms that are arguably suspect.
And we have to go out now, but also this past week, the administration softened their stance on Assad in Syria and admitted he probably will have to stay in power for a while longer.
And it's not just the Middle East. Cuba the same way. It's the
and
same
Ukraine.
approach. Yeah,
the whole thing is out of whack.
Yeah.
And can we survive another 2 years of this until the American people speak again? To be continued. For Martin Hinton, Doug Schoen, I'm John LeBoutelier. Make sure you watch us Sunday night, 7:30 with Harris Faulkner on the Fox News Channel.